Worship leading has always been something that I've been involved with ever since I came to the Lord, just because I've brought in secular music when I first came into the church, and God really used that to transform and redeem and revive what I thought worship was. First of all, it's not necessarily music, but that's specifically what we're talking about, so it's just neat because that has been my main plug into the Lord. So naturally, if I'm going to say that my calling is towards worship pastoring. A great deal of that in the contemporary church does involve music.
As a kid, I was blessed by like the worship teams that were here on campus, and I really looked up to them, and I feel like it's my way of giving back to the students and to just being a part of something that I always looked forward to being on.
It's not about the crowd, it's not about the people, though I am engaging them and trying to get them to worship with me. It's not about them, it's about Christ, and it's about giving Him what is due His name, giving Him what He deserves as much as I can through singing. So that is what it's about. And I want to make sure that people understand that, and that, well, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter if people understand it or not, as long as God knows my heart, as long as I am giving Him what He is due and giving Him what is required of me.
I feel like a lot of the people I have run into, probably 70 or 80%, like can feel that connection through music. They just, like music is something that everyone can kind of relate to. And I don't think I've met someone that doesn't like music. There's always a possibility to use music for worship.
I believe it's every time I get up to, I mean, well, defining moved by the Spirit, I guess. Like, I believe every time that I give worship, I feel like led to, you know, lift my hands into, because it's not about me, you know. Though I am trying to get the crowd to, you know, worship with me, it's not about the crowd. It's about, you know, Christ all the time. It's about Him accepting my worship to Him.
I'd put a percentage on it, but it's probably 60%. I think it's kind of funny how a lot of times, if we're not doing so well with the Lord, we're seeking an emotional attachment whenever we want to come back to God. And it's something that we shouldn't be facing, just because the Word tells us that we're supposed to worship in spirit and truth. And sometimes if you're not feeling the Spirit, the truth is worshiping in faith. It's kind of like a leapfrog, just because we need to trust that God's going to follow through on His promises and meeting us in that corporate setting when two or more are gathered, that He's there in the incarnate body. And that's pretty cool. And that's enough reason to worship. It shouldn't be, oh my goodness, they're going to play that favorite song I like and this is really going to bless me. That's not at all the case.
I love worship music. I love it. And it's funny, growing from gospel to contemporary was really hard. But now I love contemporary. This school has really helped me to expand that and to see the beauty in contemporary music. And now, like, I write songs, I write lyrics and stuff to contemporary music style, the music style. And I love it. I love it so much.
I'll have my iPod on shuffle and a song will come up, and it'll just be it'll speak to me, and it's just like a time that I can worship, like just listening to music even.
I use music to worship all the time outside of chapel, and sometimes that can be a danger. If you look at the Old Testament, people like David, Saul, and Solomon all were people who had wonderful leadership skills and wonderful strengths, but in the end it turned out to be their biggest weaknesses. That's one of the ways that God can really speak to us, just because I know I mentioned before that our strengths are for God's strengths and our weaknesses are for God's weaknesses, and admitting that vulnerability and that desire and that desperation to go to the Lord comes before you sing about it. Naturally, you're just going to go to how He wants to connect you, just because we're all part of the body and He connects with us in different ways. So it's really cool to utilize that special connection in that specific way He's wired you, but community and fellowship completes the full circle of God.